It's time for Waking Up with Wesley. Today's forecast and weather-why discussion with WLOX First Alert Weather's senior meteorologist, Wesley Williams.
Hello there, South Mississippi, and thank you for waking up with Wesley. I'm senior meteorologist Wesley Williams. So I know it's only the second day of December, and I know that your calendar still says it's fall, but today is going to feel like winter. It will feel like January because of a cold front moving in, slow temperatures warming up this morning because it's so cloudy, and there will also be a bit of a breeze. So you have a number of factors combining to create a day that is much better with a sweater or coat nearby, and you might want to dress in layers too. Before we get to that, I do want to quickly talk about the amount of rain we had, and then coming up we'll talk about when we can see those clouds clearing out. So there's a quick look at the rain map from yesterday, and in general we saw amounts of 1 to 3 inches across the area. We can take a kind of look at some of the various counties, and you'll look at this a bit bigger on your, or rather, you can see that bigger zoomed in view there. Pearl River County had about 1/3 of an inch of rain. Hancock County had more than 2 inches of rain near Bay St. Louis Waveland. It was basically 3 inches of rain in parts of Harrison County near Gulfport. Stoughton County saw more than 1/2 inch of rain near Perkinston. George County saw over 1 inch of rain in places like Lucedale. In Jackson County, we also had some of those heavier totals, around 2 inches Ocean Springs, and also around 1 to 2 inches near Pascagoula, Moss Point. But this is why I'm doing this update, because we've got some weird stuff going on with our temperatures this morning, folks. You know what normally happens? The day starts cool, the sun comes up, and then the temperatures respond and they increase. That's not what's happening today. You know, the sun came up at 6 o'clock in the morning, so that should have made the 53 at 6 a.m. go up at 7 a.m. and go up again at 8 a.m. That's what we're used to, temperatures rising after the sun rises. But it's doing the exact opposite of that today, and that is certainly going to catch you off guard if you're not paying attention to the weather forecast. I tried to really harp on this morning on GMM. I also tried to mention it in our weather app push alert, so hopefully the community is understanding what our weather is capable of today, not seeing that increase in morning temperature, but instead seeing the decrease in morning temperature because a cold front is moving in and we don't have much sun to help warm things up. Now, this is a closer look over just the last 3 hours, and you can see the substantial change. From 6 o'clock in the morning, we were in the middle 50s. And as we are closing in on the 9 o'clock hour, we're falling into the 40s, so it actually got colder. And it's not just today that the temperatures are cold, but the wind chill is there too. And this is a live view during the 8 o'clock hour from our Biloxi cam by Back Bay. And you're seeing plenty of clouds, right? So you don't have that sun to help things warm. And there's a dampness to some of these clouds. There might be these little bitty rain sprinkles or drizzle or mist that we're still dealing with this morning before things turn much drier later today. We're taking a look at those temperatures, and you'll notice the numbers. Man, this is so different from when I looked at this during GMM. Look at these numbers. We mentioned Gulfport has a temperature 48, but the winds of 15 miles per hour, that wind, that breeze, it'll cut right through you. It feels like 42, right? Biloxi 50. This is interesting. A 16-mile-an-hour wind feels like a 50. Sometimes when you use the wind chill formula, there's literally an equation used to determine wind chill. And I think it doesn't really activate or take effect until the temperatures actually drop into the 40s or drop below 50. So that's why you don't see that difference there. It's why you don't see that difference from Moss Point, Pascagoula. But once your temperature's into the 40s, that wind chill equation activates and you're seeing that difference. Wiggins, it feels like the 30s right now. Picayune, it feels like the 30s at almost 9 o'clock in the morning. So again, you don't have to take my word for it. Now you can actually step out the door. Earlier this morning, you had to take my word for it because we didn't get to this chilly part of the morning yet. Earlier this morning, it was still feeling okay. And you're like, that old Wesley, he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's not going to get colder this morning. I'm good. And now you're like, oh no, he was right. It actually got chillier. So that's where we're tracking this cold front that moved in. Now that front has moved east of Pensacola, and we are seeing these cooler conditions just rapidly coming in from the north and west. At least on the Mississippi coast, we've got 50s and 40s. Look at our neighbors in the Pine Belt. Temperatures 30s, Natchez, Macomb, Hattiesburg this morning. So it's colder up to our north. I bet if we move the map to the north, we'd actually find freezing temperatures in the northern part of our state. Jackson, middle 30s, Starkville, middle 30s, and yep, there's the freeze. Lower 30s near Tunica, Oxford, and not too far from freezing near Tupelo as well. You see those temperatures near freezing? That is what we're watching for to come down to our coast tonight after midnight, which is also known as Wednesday morning. Now let's switch over to satellite and radar, because in order for us to drop to freezing, you actually need the wind to calm down. You actually need the sky to clear. And that's what I'm looking at here on the satellite. There's no clearness, right? It's plenty of clouds. Or as a New Orleans native would say, there's beaucoup clouds out there. Maybe you've heard that terminology before, beaucoup, French word. Anyway, you can see a lot of clouds on the map, very little clearing. And you can even see these little bitty tiny green blue dots indicating very light rain sprinkles that are showing up across our area. That's why you saw that raindrop on that Biloxi Back Bay cam, because there's actually a little bitty tiny light rain going through there this morning. We'll keep a hold of those very low rain chances for the first part of the day, but we're going to take a look at Futurecast to see if maybe we can get some sunshine out of the day. Now our models are differing. You look at one model, it shows plenty of sun in the afternoon. I think that's kind of optimistic, because sometimes this time of year, low clouds can be very stubborn. Despite the dry air moving in behind the front, it can take longer than expected for some of these stubborn low clouds to clear out. And I do wonder if that's the kind, if today is like a January day, that's a thing that happens very often in a January type weather pattern where the low clouds are slow to clear. So look at this. You go to 9 o'clock this morning, still chilly, the air turning drier, seeing that rain chance very low at 10 to 20%. By the time we get to noon, rain chances are basically zero. You're looking at any sprinkles are over into Alabama, Florida, they're gone, they're out of here. But we're still seeing a lot of clouds, right? You only see little bitty tiny breaks. There's a little bitty tiny break in the clouds there, a little bitty tiny break in the clouds there. But for the most part, there's still mostly cloudy skies. And we're wondering, will we be able to get the clearing? Here's a look at 2 or 3 p.m. We're finally starting to see some more clearing over parts of southeast Louisiana, parts of South Mississippi. If you look really closely, you can actually see Jackson County, still cloudy. Pearl River County, seeing some sun. And so there's going to be this difference this afternoon. The places that get sun, you're going to be able to see temperatures into the 50s. The places that don't, good luck. It's going to probably stay in the chilly 40s. And this will have an inverse effect overnight. You see, during the day, we rely on the sunshine this time of year to really warm things up. But overnight, the sun's gone. So what keeps you warm overnight? It's actually clouds. We talk about this a lot. Like in bed, when you put a blanket on in bed to trap your body heat next to your body, it keeps you warm overnight. Well, a blanket of clouds traps the planet's heat next to the surface instead of letting the planetary heat, technically geothermal heat, there's molten lava beneath the core, or rather beneath the Earth's crust. So all of that heat near the core of the planet, that's what helps us to stay relatively warm overnight instead of being on a celestial body that does not have such a hot core, like a moon, for example. So anyway, geology aside, back to meteorology, we rely on clouds overnight to prevent the air from cooling down too rapidly. And this model shows some clouds, folks. This is 9 p.m., 10 p.m. I don't see a lot of clearing here. If we stay too cloudy, wherever there's too many clouds, you're not going to freeze tonight. So, it really will depend on how quickly we can see the clearing and how much clearing we'll see. But there's a look at what to expect today. expecting some, maybe not all, but some clearing. And wherever we do get that clearing in the afternoon, maybe it's Pearl River County like the model showed, that's where the temperatures could make a run for the lower 50s, maybe Hancock County. Where it stays too cloudy, you're never going to make it to 53. And regardless, look, the wind is here, folks. So, you know, the thermometer might be talking about some 50s. Don't get it twisted. It doesn't matter what the thermometer is saying on a day like today, because the wind chill is really the main thing that you're going to feel, because it's breezy. And this is why I was recommending having a sweater or a coat nearby, because look at this, 8 a.m. temperature 49, wind chill 45. But as we go to midday, it's not much better. That's 1 in the afternoon, temperature 52, wind chill still in the 40s. Technically, your wind chill stay in the 40s all day long. So that's the January part of today. That's the winter part of today. Not really feeling like it's in the 50s. So, you know, our high temperature, I showed you this earlier. Let's go back to it. Let's see if this will show it. Our high temperature today, you're looking at it, that 2 a.m. bar, that was our high temperature, 57. I do not expect us to return to 57 this afternoon. So that was probably our high. So, you know, it's kind of useless to really talk about a high temperature for the rest of the day. Our temperatures are just going to kind of mess around in the 40s and 50s for the rest of the day. Wherever there's clouds, 40s. Wherever there's sun, 50s. But there's not really going to be a high temperature for the rest of the day. And then tonight, this is the last thing we'll cover before we go, the potential for freezing temperatures. Now, this is late overnight, after midnight, which is also known as Wednesday morning. And that's when the temperatures will possibly drop into the lower 30s and upper 20s. Like I said earlier, this is dependent on cloud cover. Wherever there's too many clouds, you're not going to see those numbers. The temperature numbers might only be in the mid and upper 30s, if that. But if you actually get a clear sky, wherever that town may be, wherever that county may be, if you get the clear sky overnight, that is how the rapid cooling of temperatures can occur, because you don't have that blanket of clouds to trap the planet's heat near the surface. So all of that planetary heat will escape rapidly and cause the surface temperatures to fall rapidly. And that's how we can get to a light freeze with lower 30s, upper 20s, cold enough to damage any sensitive plants. So bring those indoors or cover them up before bed tonight. Temperatures could also be cold enough to harm any people and pets that are exposed. So, you know, if your pets are outdoors, maybe this is a night to let them sleep indoors. If you have livestock, make sure that those animals have unfrozen water and warm shelter. And of course, check in on kids, elderly, your neighbors. Make sure that they have proper heating overnight tonight. Any of the kids and people and elderly in your family that you care about, you love about, make sure that they are protected from those conditions. This update was primarily to focus on the cold, right? It's cold today, tonight, and tomorrow. And then we are going to shift our attention toward rain with our next rainmaker. It's going to be a series of rain showers, rounds of rain showers rather, into Thursday night, and Friday night, before we finally see a less wet pattern this weekend. And we'll talk more about the approaching rain system in the next edition of Waking Up with Wesley. But I did want to focus on the cold in Tuesday's edition, because there's a winter feel out there as we are moving into the second day of December. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of Waking Up with Wesley. I've been Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams. We'll see you again next time.
Thank you for watching Waking Up with Wesley with WLOX First Alert Weather Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams.